It was supposed to be a quiet Saturday morning, but the moment I stepped onto my porch, I knew the suburban peace was officially dead. 20 random, beat-up cars, from a dented Honda Civic to a ridiculously oversized chrome-plated pickup, were jammed bumper to bumper across my entire double-wide driveway, completely blocking my garage. Seriously, who does that? Disbelief hit me first. A cold, sharp shock that quickly curdled into genuine, burning rage. The bass from next door's house, belonging to my neighbor, Penelope "Penny" Peterson, was already thumping. A headache-inducing rhythm that rattled the glass in my front door. I took a deep, ragged breath, the smell of stale beer and cheap gasoline thick in the humid morning air, and marched straight toward her front door. I hammered on the door, resisting the urge to just start keying every vehicle in sight. When Penny finally opened it, she was clad in a floral muumuu, sunglasses perched on top of her meticulously highlighted blonde hair, looking every bit the suburban tyrant she was. "Can I help you?" she asked, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness, even as a fresh wave of loud, off-key laughter spilled out from behind her. I pointed a trembling finger at the automotive horror show engulfing my property. "Penny, you need to move these cars. Now, you have completely barricaded my house. What on earth is going on?" She just sighed, a dramatic, performative sound that seemed to suggest I was personally inconveniencing her Nobel Prize ceremony. "Oh, those?" she dismissed, waving a manicured hand. "They're for the party. Just for a few hours, Jake. Relax. It's not like you were going anywhere important." Not going anywhere important? Was she kidding me? My heart hammered against my ribs, the sheer audacity of her statement making my vision blur slightly. "This is private property, Penelope. I can't access my car. This isn't some public parking lot for your friends," I shouted, feeling the blood rush hot behind my ears. A tall, slightly greasy man in a poorly fitting suit wandered up behind her. She leaned in conspiratorially, her perfume, a heavy, cloying scent of lilies and entitlement, making me step back. "Look, I have people coming in from out of state for a very important business venture," she whispered, emphasizing the last two words with a smug tilt of her chin. "The street parking was full. You have a long driveway. Just use the back gate for now. I'll make sure to get them moved by tonight." Tonight? What kind of business required 24 cars parked illegally? I felt a sudden, cold sense of calculation replacing the heat of anger. This wasn't just a party. This was a racket. I stepped back onto the patchy grass, pulling out my phone. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the cold aluminum device. "Fine, Penny. You want to make this official? Let's make it official." She just smirked, already turning back into the dimly lit hallway. "Oh, please, Jake. Go call the homeowners association. They'll just send you a strongly worded email. Nobody cares about a little parking issue." She chuckled, closing the door with a dismissive thud. That sound, that smug, final thud, was the sound of her sealing her own fate. I stood there for a full minute, listening to the cacophony of her business venture. I could hear car doors slamming, hurried conversations, and the persistent, annoying thump-thump-thump of the bass. I suddenly remembered a clause in the municipal code about commercial activity and parking on residential property, a detail I'd only skimmed when I bought the house. I didn't call the homeowners association, I called the city zoning enforcement and the local towing company that specifically handles illegal parking on private land. I knew I needed to be perfectly legal. The towing company confirmed they could handle private property enforcement, but they required a signed affidavit and a clear photo of the no parking/private property sign I had. Thankfully, installed after Penny's last minor offense. A single barbecue smoker parked halfway on my lawn. They'd move 1 or 2 cars for a fee, but 20? That was an operation. I sent the photos, filed the online complaint with zoning, citing the noise, the traffic hazard, and the commercial nature of her event, which was the secret twist. She was running an illegal, short-term car share rental service, using her house as the pickup hub. Could this truly be the end of her neighborhood reign? The next 3 hours were agonizing. Every time I looked out my window, I saw another person walking up my driveway, opening one of the illegally parked cars, and driving off, only to be immediately replaced by another incoming vehicle. It was a bizarre, maddening carousel of disrespect. I was stuck, pacing my living room like a caged tiger, the low growl of frustration rumbling in my chest. I kept repeating the towing company's instructions, trying to keep my nerve. Wait until the clock hits the agreed-upon time. Wait until I get the confirmation from the supervisor. Then, right on the dot at 12:45 p.m., my phone buzzed with the sweetest message I'd ever received. ETA 15 minutes. Dispatching 5 units initially. 5 units. This was going to be biblical. I went back outside, and the sudden quiet was jarring. Penny must have finally turned down the music. I leaned against my railing, waiting. 5 minutes later, I heard it, the powerful, low rumble of diesel engines. Then the flashing amber lights. Not one, not two, but a continuous stream. 6, 7, then 10 heavy-duty tow trucks, all shiny black and chrome, turning the corner onto our street. They came with such force and precision that it genuinely looked like a motorcade. Parade. The street, usually sleepy and silent, was suddenly filled with the sight and sound of justice rolling in. "Oh, my God," I whispered, watching the lead driver, a woman with a no-nonsense expression, pull directly up to the first illegally parked car. That's when Penny's front door flew open. She stepped out, her eyes wide, her face transforming from smug confidence to sheer, unadulterated horror. "What in the name of... What are you doing?" she shrieked, sprinting toward the lead driver, her moo-moo flapping like a frantic flag. "Those are my clients' cars. You can't touch them. I want to speak to your supervisor. I pay taxes here," she screamed, the classic Karen battle cry echoing across the suburb. The lead driver just calmly held up her clipboard. "Ma'am, this is private property enforcement. Signed by the owner, Jake. You've been reported for illegal commercial parking." As the first car was hoisted into the air with a loud, hydraulic hiss, Penny's voice cracked. She tried to physically block the next truck, but the drivers were professionals, circling the vehicles like vultures around fresh prey. The entire street was watching, curtains twitching, neighbors stepping onto their lawns with expressions ranging from shock to pure, vengeful glee. The business venture clientele who hadn't left yet stood frozen, helplessly watching their rental cars disappear one by one. By the time the 10th vehicle was gone, and Penny was sobbing hysterically into her phone, a city zoning vehicle pulled up behind the last tow truck. The enforcement officer stepped out, clipboard in hand, and approached a devastated Penelope. "Ma'am, we have a cease and desist order for illegal commercial activity and excessive code violations. You're also being fined for every vehicle towed." The bitter, final justice tasted sweeter than any victory. The street went quiet again, but this time, it was the sound of true peace. It was a powerful reminder that boundaries matter. And when entitlement thinks it can park 20 cars over your life, the law, and a well-timed fleet of tow trucks, will always form a glorious parade of karma.